Welcome to the 2016-2017 Paying for Purdue Understanding Your Financial Aid Award Information webinar.
Hi, my name is Ted Malone, and I'll be hosting this session today.
We know that financial aid is critical for your access and success at Purdue. We also understand it's a pretty complicated process, and you have to do it every year, but that first year is especially challenging. Our office wants to be available and provide you with the necessary steps to qualify for your financial aid and to make sure you get everything you receive. Our agenda for today is going to be what to do if you haven't received an award notice. If you've received an award notice, we're going to help you understand what you're seeing. We're going to give you some tips and strategies regarding paying for Purdue. We're going to help you understand the aid that you've been awarded. And we're going to help you with next steps. And finally, we're going to have questions and answers. Again, you can put a chat question in at any time. So if you haven't received an award notice, either by paper or email, there are a couple possibilities. It could be that we did not receive your FAFSA before the Purdue March 1st priority filing date. It also could be that we have requested additional information from you. Please check your MYPURDUE account to make sure we are in that situation and to see what we are asking from you. If you've completed the above items and have not received an award notice, we suggest you call our office at 765-494-5050. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So how do we notify you about your financial aid awards? We send you one paper letter to your home address, and that's about the last paper communication you can expect from the financial aid office, as we use email as our primary form of communication. So each time we send out an award notification, we send it out to the student and the parent and refer you to look at your MYPURDUE account. You should include all Purdue scholarship offers that will be on there. Typically, by the time we send out award notices, we've received notification from all the colleges on what they're awarding. It should be pretty final. There are award messages located that discuss things like what you have to do to renew an award, if it's renewable, a lot of different things. Make sure you read those. And if you get into your MYPURDUE account and need some help navigating, there is a help tab on the screen, and that can get you through most of the places. Now we're going to go to what the online award acceptance screen looks like. As you can look at this, you can see that we give you the award name, the status of it currently, the terms that it's offered for, with a fund total and the amounts. As you can see here, the grants and scholarships all show in an accepted status. We assume that if you've been offered a grant or a scholarship, that if you're coming here, you're going to want it. Whereas loans, we put into an offered status because we want you to make the decision on if and how much you borrow. As you look over to the side of there, you'll see that there's a decision block. And from there, you can choose to accept your award in full, you can choose to decline the award in full, or you can accept a partial amount. One thing to be careful of is if you're thinking you only want a spring and you accept only half, what that's going to actually do is accept half for the fall, half for the spring. If you want to do something different than that, just give us a call and we can help you get that taken care of. Now, the Parent Plus loan has its own unique status, and part of that is because just as we wanted the student to make the decision about borrowing, we want to make sure the parents are making the decision about borrowing the Federal Plus loan. We'll talk more about how you actually do that later, and once you get done making all your choices, you submit your decision. Next, we're going to move and take a look at the heart of the paper award notification. This is a shot that's from our website, and you can look at this anytime you like. We do not have colors on the actual paper award letters we send, but you can see in the light green area there at the top left, that's where we list all the what we call gift aid or free money, which is grants or scholarships. How much is for the fall, how much is for the spring. Typically in an early awarding, you won't see anything for the summer because we do that sort of as the tail end of what's left over. And then a total for each award and a total amount at the bottom of the page or at the bottom of the block for how much gift aid you can expect. Just to the right of that, you see cost of attendance for going to school. Some of those are the direct costs for tuition and fees, room and board if you're living on campus, and some indirect expenses. We'll talk more about that later. But what you can see down here is the net cost after gift aid, and that's your total cost less your total gift aid. That's really the amount that you as a family would have to come up with to pay for the year of school. And keep in mind that represents the first year, not all four. In the blue section down, we've included what we call self-help aid. That is either student loans or student employment. And then we give you a figure over here of how much that is that's left to cover after the grants and the loans are available. Other information that we would like for you to have when looking at your award is information from the DFA financial aid application. You can get it at Google Play, Amazon, Apple Store. Just look for Purdue Financial Aid. And what it does is it allows you on your tablet or phone to have access to several documents that we think will provide useful information. First of those is the terms and conditions document. This gives you some of the policies you need to be aware of, some of the terms and how you renew awards again, a lot of information that's really important to know. It's not the most scintillating read, but it's a very important read. Next, we have a thing that's much more pleasant to read. We call it Pointers from Peers. It's a listing from our student workers here in the office that tells things they wish they'd known before they started at Purdue. Gems of wisdom from people who have gone through just a little bit before you, and I hope you find them useful. The back page of that is what we would call some consumer information type things. We talk about retention from first year to second year. We talk about graduation rates, success in repaying student loans, average borrowing, what payments represent, how much loan payments are for various amounts borrowed, just to kind of help you know when you're making decision how these things might run. Another thing is the direct cost and aid worksheet. There are, as I said before, direct expenses and indirect expenses. So tuition and fees, that's always going to be a direct expense because you're always going to be paying the university. If you live in housing, your housing and food are going to be a direct expense to the university. If you were to live off campus somewhere, it might only be your tuition and fees. Other items like books and supplies, your travel expenses, they're all paid to entities other than Purdue University. So keep that in mind. What we're calculating here is how much you're either short or have excess of your scheduled aid to cover your direct assessment here. So if you see this student has $9,830 in grants, student loans of $7,500, a parent loan of $2,500 for a total estimated financial aid amount of $19,830. We subtract that from the direct expenses and see this student would still need another $202 to pay for their annual school bill. An important thing to remember is you are billed by the semester, So you don't have to pay the whole year up front. You pay for fall, we disperse aid for the fall. You pay for spring, we disperse aid for the spring. So pretty much everything is split in half, and you can deal with that. Other things to keep in mind when you're looking at this is you may have your deposit may factor into that and reducing the amount you are actually going to owe, especially for the fall semester. Here are some things that we think are helpful tips to keep in mind. There's a Paying for Purdue session at STAR. This is set up for parents, and we'll be meeting with the financial aid people will be there, as well as representatives from the Office of the Bursar to discuss when payments due, how you go about paying, and things like that. You need to determine your direct and indirect expenses, as I showed you before. Create a budget. There are tips on how to do this at www.purdue.edu/mymoney. It's really helpful for the student to set up a budget for their school year because, finances may be limited, especially if they're living off campus. You may get your financial aid to cover your housing up front, and you got to make sure that you don't spend it all on something else and get to November, December and not be able to pay your rent. That's a real problem for some folks. Consider using the installment payment plan. The Bursar's office will allow people to make installment payments that divide your semester bill up into 4. We'll discuss that a little later, how that can be combined with other aid to keep borrowing down. Only borrow what you need. We can't overemphasize that how important it is to sit down and actually figure out how much you need to borrow. Because if you have other types of aid, we have told you what your maximum is. We don't know, if you have other resources, if a grandparent's going to help, or if, a non-custodial parent might be helping. These are things we're just not aware of, so we just encourage you to calculate how much you actually need to borrow. And you don't have to make the decisions right away. Those aren't going to be canceled on you. They'll sit out there and wait for you to make a decision, because it may be that you've got some scholarship applications in the hopper and don't know what you're going to be receiving for sure from a local service club or something. Remember that there are federal tax credits that will help offset tuition expenses. The 2016 tuition and books expenses will be able to be deducted and receive a credit for it on your federal tax return. Advise you to read up on that from the IRS publications, as well as whoever your tax preparer is, they should know how to do this. Continue searching for private scholarships. There are, things that come up all the time, and we really encourage you to keep applying. You may get turned down a lot or even not hear anything, but if you get that one that pops up and you get some more money, that's something you don't have to borrow, something you don't have to earn down in the future. Maximize your opportunities for future scholarships by maintaining a good GPA, getting involved. There are scholarships available for the marching band and various other organizations that once you've been involved in there or sometimes been an officer, you're able to get scholarships through other organizations on campus. Financial strategies. There are in essence 3 times periods in which people can pay for the education. You can pay for it in the past by using savings, which is, if you haven't done so, a little late, but it's not too late for a student to save money from a summer job, save graduation gifts, and use those towards keeping down your debt for the fall and spring. You can use current earnings. Parents may want to set up part of the payment for the year on the 4-payment plan each semester. That makes takes less of a bite out of it. Students can help by working part-time while you're attending school to maintain your day-to-day expenses, such as laundry money and little pocket money for, whatever you need to do. There are other options, such as we mentioned tax credits, private scholarships, applying for ROTC scholarships. There's a variety of resources depending on what level of commitment you are interested in post-graduation. You can use future earnings. And that is, take student loans or parent loans. There are other options that some people use, like a home equity loan. All of those have their pluses and minuses, and is something that, again, you should sit down and figure out what is best for you, because some families can get a really good rate on a private loan. Some may not be able to get as good, and the Parent Plus loan might be better for some than others. So each family is a little different, and how they go about this is going to be unique to them. Special circumstances. So the FAFSA uses 2015 calendar year information for this, and that is typically the best representation of what future earnings will be. But in real life, that doesn't always happen. We encourage you to contact us if parents become unemployed, significant out-of-pocket medical expenses, natural disaster, something like that. We have the ability to factor those in and recalculate an expected family contribution based on more recent earnings. As a note, we don't approve appeals based strictly on credit card debt or car payments. If the credit card debt is related to having paid medical expenses, that might be a little different, but that really relates to the medical expenses. Also, if you already have a zero expected family contribution, we can't reduce that. It may be conceivable, if you have unusual expenses, to approve a budget increase. But like I said, once you've hit zero, that's about the most that can happen. Also, if the EFC is very high already, appealing may not change aid eligibility. If your expected family contribution is $100,000 and the changes cut it in half, you still have $50,000, which wouldn't change your eligibility for aid. There are some common misunderstandings we'd like to address. Some people think if they tell us about private scholarships, we will decrease their Purdue scholarships offer. And that is not the case. We will, the very first thing we do is see if the student has any unmet need. If they do, or if they're not packaged up to their full cost of attendance, we'll reduce that first. Then we'll start looking at loans, and about the only time we ever start doing anything with university aid is if there is scholarships or something that will only pay tuition and you have multiples of those. For instance, 21st Century Scholarship only pays tuition amounts, and if you had another scholarship, say from a community foundation, that also had a scholarship only paying tuition, we would have to balance the two. Typically, we would suggest that you talk to your scholarship agency and see if they can help you with room and board instead of only tuition. We do not bargain to increase scholarship offers. This is a policy that we have, and we don't, if you come in and show us that another school has offered you $10,000 more than we did, that's great, but we're not going to increase our offer to match it. We have limited funding, and what we've offered is what we can offer. However, if you go back to the special circumstances, need-based aid can be reconsidered based on changes in the family circumstance. Being related to alumni doesn't automatically qualify you for a discount or an alumni scholarship. And another real common misconception is that if you are from another state, that after being here for a year, you will start to pay resident rates. That is not true. If you are here for school, you basically, as a full-time student, can't achieve Indiana residency unless your whole family moves here. And the more information on that can be found on the registrar's website in how to appeal your residency status. Okay, we're going to move on and talk a little bit about loans. Loans are financing options that require repayment. Again, sound like a broken record, but borrow only what you need to borrow. There are a variety of loan programs. There are federal student loan programs. There's a subsidized federal loan, an unsubsidized federal loan. These are probably the best financing you will find that will only be in the student's name or unsecured. They have some excellent benefits and cancellations. We recommend those as a first step in borrowing. There are also private loans and loans that go in the parents' names. So it's really important to understand that each of these programs has different eligibility criteria and terms. Some require good credit, some don't care about credit at all. Your loan eligibility is valid for the entire aid period. So if we've awarded you for fall and spring and you're not sure that you're going to need anything for fall but might want to get it for spring, you can hang on to that until into the fall semester and then let us know what you want to do. It'll still be hanging out there on the website, and like I said, you can make your decision then. However, if you want your student loans to show up as a credit on the bursar's invoice when they mail them in July, you will need to accept and apply for your loans by the first week of July to have that show up there. We're going to talk a little bit about the Parent Plus loan because that's pretty unique. This is a federal loan program. However, the parents do actually have a credit check. This is made by the federal government. The credit criteria is an absence of negative credit. So you can have no credit or mediocre credit, and none of that matters. It's bankruptcies, adjudications, various things. A parent who is denied for credit reasons can get an eligible co-signer or co-borrower to endorse the loan, and may be able to receive it then. To apply for the PLUS loan, you have to fill out an application and a promissory note online at studentloans.gov. And to sign this, you'll use your FSA ID that you got to help you fill out the FAFSA. We won't begin processing these applications until the end of June due to technical reasons. So you may see them on the website not changing status even though you've done stuff, and that's just because we won't be processing till then. These loans have a rate that changes every year, but once you take a loan, that loan is fixed for the life of that loan. The current interest rate for the 15-16 year is 6.84%. It will probably change a little bit when it's announced in June, but I would not anticipate a whole lot. So it should be in that neighborhood. There's also a 4.3% origination fee that the feds deduct out of the proceeds. Numbers on our website. Just lost it off the top of my head. These are on a standard 10-year repayment period. There is no income contingent repayment option. You can get an extended repayment, but they will still have a payment to make every month. You can request in-school deferment. but the interest will accrue on that loan during that time. For a $20,000 loan, you can expect about $226, plus or minus, as your monthly payment. Student employment. A lot of people, especially with freshmen, are really concerned about students working, and they may want their students not to take a job right away because they're concerned. But we'll discuss that here. Federal Work Study is a need-based financial aid program that's awarded at the university. The more a student earning can allow them to reduce the debt amount they're taking by helping them pay their continuing educational expenses. Studies have shown that working less than 16 hours a week improves academic performance and boosts career achievement. Not exactly sure why, but they think it has to do with that you have to plan better. It's not till students get above about 20 hours a week that it has a negative impact on their academic performance. So, that somewhere between 10 and 20 is sort of the golden award. It's important to know that even though a Federal Work Study Award shows up on your award letter, it does not get credited to the bill like a grant or a scholarship will. It's paid in biweekly payments to the student after working on the job. There are a lot of non-federal work study jobs available on campus as well. In fact, far more than that require work study. All of those jobs can be found by looking at our financial aid student employment site at the address listed there. Some other options to help with kind of employment opportunities is to look at internships. Those are often handled out of the Career Center, and that's their address there. And finally, a great opportunity is cooperative education. Many of our majors have opportunities to spend several semesters working in the field that they're studying. So they would study, a semester, say, in their junior year, and then go take a semester off and actually work at a company, like an engineering company, and actually get paid at the rate of a starting engineer might make. So they can make a fair amount of money and gain really valuable experience, return to campus for the next campus or semester and take more classes. It does stretch the time out a little, but might be well worth it financially as well as from an experience point of view. So what do you do next? We encourage you to sit down and have what we call the kitchen table or the money talk. Analyze the numbers. Look not just at who gave you the most financial aid, but where you have the most left to cover. Examining, all the pros and cons of various schools versus the cost. Also, it really can help you get on the same page with parent and student about who's paying for what, and make sure everybody's expectations are understood. Now that it's April and you can start applying for Parent Plus loans. Once your taxes are done, if you used estimated figures, you can go in and update your FAFSA with actual tax info using the IRS data retrieval tool. May will send all the students a reminder that they should send us notices about private scholarships they've received. June and July, attend STAR, get yourself registered, finalize your loan applications, and start applying for student jobs. You don't need to wait to apply for fall jobs until you're here on campus. You may even be able to apply for a job before STAR and actually talk to that department while you're here. Then in August, come to start the semester and become a real Boilermaker. We look forward to seeing you here then. It's important to remember that if there are any revisions made to your financial aid, we'll send you an email instructing you to view the changes on your MYPURDUE. This might happen because you're changing something with your enrollment. Maybe you're changing your major, so your costs are changing. A lot of things could impact why that might happen. Services from financial aid. We have call center. You were able to reach us phone calls 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Walk-in services, same time frame. We're in Schliemann Hall, room 305. We have frequently asked questions on the website, and we have email that you can send at any time, day or night, but we're pretty much going to answer them between 8 and 5. And we have a website that's available 24/7, and you can find a lot of information to help you there. Well, that's it for our standard presentation.